So today we have Nicole joining us. I'm absolutely thrilled to have her taking us through the foundations of design. So Nicole is the art director for Canva Studio and Enterprise. And with no further ado, I hand over to you, Nicole.
Hello, thank you very much. I'm over the moon to be here and also to have so many different people from so many different places joining us today. It's very exciting. And I hope you all learned something. So welcome. We are doing a Foundations of Design workshop. As we just mentioned, I'm Nicole, so I'll be here to teach you and to walk you through anything and everything. And hopefully, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. So let's get started. So today we will be talking about a few key design principles and how to apply them to your designs. But first, what do we mean when we talk about design principles? What are they and how can you apply them to your designs? I'm sure from a quick Google search, you'll find that there are many different words and different combinations, names given to all these kind of foundation principles, and it can be kind of overwhelming. But at their core, they are the basic building blocks of design. Design principles create the foundation of every piece of communication. Just like you can't build a solid house without good foundations, you can't build a great design without solid design principles. So today we'll be taking a deeper look at some of these key design principles and how you can apply them to your designs to make them instantly clearer and more engaging. In this session, we are going to explore the principles of alignment, hierarchy, consistency, and balance. So to begin, let's take a look at this design. Overall, you get the impression that this is quite a successful design, but why? When self-assessing or critiquing your own design or someone else's, it's important to look and ask why a design is working. To assess the suitability of a design, we use the 4 different principles just mentioned. They're essentially the framework that allows you to successfully arrange elements within a design. Principles don't work in isolation, but rather they work alongside each other to create successful design outcomes. So let's look closer at this design to see how alignment, hierarchy, consistency, and balance are all being used together. So first up, alignment helps your design feel organized and anchored. By using alignment points within your design, you can successfully create a visual order to text, images, and elements. In this design, there is a clear line of alignment down the left-hand side of the copy. Aligning text is a really simple and easy way to create order. Left-aligned text is probably the most common, and it's extremely legible and easy to read. So next up, we've got hierarchy, space and where you position items within your document. Hierarchy helps the viewer navigate through your design. Often hierarchy is most noticeable within type, such as beauty stills, but it can also be applied and used through images and graphic elements, such as the leaves. In this design, you can see that the hierarchy is in the type. When assessing hierarchy, ask yourself, what do I notice first, second, third, and then fourth? Do those levels of importance make sense to the information in the design? Next, we have consistency. So by repeating elements within your design, such as color, or in this case, leaves, it can help bring the design and make it feel cohesive. Keeping things like headings, quotes, image styles consistent helps your design communicate clearly and enables the viewer to understand your design quickly. In this design, consistency has been implemented in the color palette, the type, and the graphic elements. You can see that it's the tonal consistency of the colors, like the muted colors here, and the style and the imagery used. They all match. And lastly, balance can be symmetrical or asymmetrical, and it's the overall visual weight distribution achieved by a layout. You can achieve balance with graphic elements, text, and images. You can use negative space, like just above here, to help balance your design. Symmetrical balance is easiest to achieve, and it comes quite naturally. This is why symmetrical balance is often used in your more classic design layouts. Asymmetrical balance can be a little harder to achieve, and it's considered to be a little bit more dynamic. In this example, you can see asymmetrical balance. This has been achieved by using graphic elements, imagery, and the use of text and negative space. So let's take a deeper look at how these principles can be used to improve any design. As mentioned earlier, it's useful to group principles together because they don't work in isolation. They work together. So first off, let's start with alignment and hierarchy. Firstly, it creates a sharper, more unified design. you can create visual organization in a design and help guide the reader to begin and finish reading a particular thing. And thirdly, grouping related information to clearly show a connection can also help your reader. In this design, the designer has used 2 points to anchor the alignment and their text to keep it clean and structured. They've used right aligned text on this side and then left aligned text for the big heading. The second design principle they have executed really well here is the use of hierarchy. This has been achieved by using 3 sizes of the same font. This is guiding my eye to read things in a particular order, like save the date and then the actual date of the event. In this example, there are 3 distinctive points of alignment to help unify the design. The image and the small text being anchored off the base of the image, and then the title working together to create an interesting but organized layout. This is also showcasing how even just 2 font sizes and styles can be used to create hierarchy. And then in this third design, the horizontal alignment helps to group the icons and type in sections, making it super clear to follow the steps. They've kept the design to 3 font sizes and only 2 colors for maximum impact. This brings us to an exercise that we'll be doing today to help understand this even more. The first one is all about alignment and hierarchy. So first up, we've just got a social post here. There's some text. It's got complete your gift list now, super holiday sale, and some event details. We've got some snowflakes to keep it nice and icy for where we are. So looking at this, I guess I need to analyze what's most important. And I think what is super important is the fact that there's a sale. Now that's going to entice me and grab my attention. So I'm going to want to focus on that particular heading. I'm going to copy that and paste that here. Now I'm going to focus on selecting a nice font. So I can go up to my top panel here where I've got my fonts and choose a nice font that I might like. Noto Serif Display Bold for ease. It's a nice serif font. And I'm going to increase the size a little bit just by dragging the box. Super holiday sale. I'm going to make it left aligned to help with my alignment to make it easier for my reader at this point. Just going to decrease the line spacing, make it a little bit tighter. All right, what other things do I have? I've got complete your gift list now. Someone's going to be very organized for Christmas time. I'm going to pick a different font for this, I think. I'm going to choose something that helps the reader read this information clearly. So I'm going to pick a sans serif font like Telegraph Medium. I'm going to decrease the size as well. Make sure it's left aligned. And then I'm going to grab the next bit of my information, the date, the time, and where this event is. I'm going to copy the font styling that I've used for complete your gift list now. We're clicking the little paintbrush, which is copy style, and hitting the thing that or the other text box that I'd like to copy the style of. All right, so we've got a little bit of hierarchy happening, a little bit of alignment. What's not working for me at the moment, I think the black is a little bit harsh, the color, and I want to include some nice visual icons here. So just to make it a little bit interesting, I'm going to make one of them a bit smaller, pop you in the corner. Now I'm just trying to, I guess, play with the elements on the page and create some balance and make sure things are feeling aligned. I'm going to also change the color at the moment. I might actually pick the nice pink so it matches in my left panel here. Looking a little bit more engaging and a bit softer for the sail. Might even increase the size a little bit more. So now we're focusing on, I'm going to increase this a little bit, make it 22 point size, and match this so that we only have 2 different fonts and 2 different sizes to keep it very clean. Look, I think for a few minutes of a play around, I think we're looking pretty good here. we can keep finessing and focusing on making sure that things are feeling aligned and balanced. But here we've got a really good, we've got a little bit of white space, so a little bit of breathing space, so that our icons and elements and our text feels it's got the space that it needs to breathe. My reader can focus on the important things, such as super holiday sale. And then if they're interested, they can keep reading and find out when that might actually be, December 5th, 2020. And then also having the little snowflake elements is nice. It's there to create a bit of interest and to also reflect, they match that it's a Christmas sale, and that it's a holiday sale. So I think that's that. I think I'm pretty happy with that. We can go ahead and download that and I can post that to my people, my little Instagram holiday sale for my shop. I think it's super important to remember when you're reading the information or trying to start, like, where do you begin? Just ask yourself, like, what's most important here? What do I really want to tell my viewer or reader to grab their attention? And there's always going to be that one thing that needs to pop out more than something else.
Yeah. We've got a question from PS who has asked, is this for print or digital? And would you make different choices for print versus digital?
Oh, very good question. So this is for digital. So this is just an Instagram post. So something that's, I guess, if you were going to do this for a poster, I definitely probably put a little bit more information. You might include more details of the event, what things might be on sale. That might just even be through an extra line of text. But for the purpose of this is focusing on, I guess, a social post, and you just want their really quick attention. People see things that they're scrolling and there are so many different, I guess, things to distract you. So you want to be really clear and simple and get noticed by that, making sure that your messaging is super clear. So I think for the purpose of this, we're just keeping the text and the icons and elements used really simple for Instagram. But if it was a poster, I'd probably have a bit more information about the event. Does that help?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. We've got another
Awesome.
question. Should we always design within the pink border within Canva?
Oh, it's a great one. So Canva has set up these, I guess, guides that help you anchor your elements and give you a bit of parameters to make sure that things give you a nice balance within your space. There's nothing to stop you from, increasing your elements off the page. And sometimes that's a really great way to kind of create a bit more of an impact or create something that's a little bit different that makes you notice it. For the purpose of this for social, I just wanted to keep it really clean and simple, but there's nothing to stop you that, pushing it off the page. It's really just comes down to, is that the most important thing that should be on my page at grabbing your attention, or would I prefer super holiday sale to be more the attention grabbing aspect in this design? And for this one, I would prefer my text to be the attention grabbing and the elements to kind of just support that heading.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you. Marie was wondering if you can explain how you use the copy paint roller tool again.
So I love this little feature in Canva. I think it's a very time saving rather than going backwards and forwards. So you can just copy your text and just say you've got, you pick a different type of text. We'll just go with this one. You go, oh, yep, I really like this. I love how it's, how it feels. I like the color, I like the style. You keep your cursor clicked on the one that you want to copy the style from, go up to your little paintbrush and it will say copy style. Once you click it, it gets colored in, which means it's copying. And then you go and click whatever it is you want to kind of transform. And when you transform, that copies everything. So that means the text alignment, the color, and I guess the alignment of it all. So this has gone to centered because that's how that one was centered. If I now click that to being left aligned and I change the color to, let's just do a teal. If I press copy again, it's going to copy that exactly. So that's a really useful and quick little feature in Canva to make everyone's life a little bit easier. Cool, awesome. Moving on. Now we'll be focusing on the design principle of consistency. So firstly, it can strengthen a design by bringing all the separate parts together. And secondly, you can create visual cues and associations that help your reader understand your message even further. So for example, in this design, a square triangle device has been used repeatedly to help navigate the reader's attention and to make it easy to read the copy on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side. Secondly, they have used consistent colors throughout the design, the oranges and those nice yellows. And it also just so happens that the image they have also used also references their brand colors. A reader often actually doesn't realize that this happens a lot in campaigns and ads that you see every single day, because it helps to bring the design look and feel consistent and cohesive. It's a really clever trick. I think now you'll all go start noticing this. And thirdly, they have used a consistent alignment on the type over here. It really helps to help you read it clearly. In this example, consistency has been created through the use of typography, making sure that they only use 2 font styles in 3 different sizes. So they're limiting the amount of different sizes they're using. They also have used a consistent illustration style throughout and consistent line weights, and also complementary colors on the overall design. So this brings us to our next exercise and demonstration. So we'll be sharing another little link. All right, let's get stuck in. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see what's on my page. And we've placed a few different, I guess, header options just to make things a little bit easier. And then a little bit of perhaps your body style, your body copy font. And then we've got some supporting elements that can help describe what we're trying to promote here. This is an invitation poster. And I'm going to pick this one at the top here. Looks pretty fun. Get to my design here. I'm going to paste that there. All right, summer block party. For some, that's a reality, and for others, it's winter. So that's a distant dream. I'm going to increase the size a little bit because I want people to focus on the fact that it is a summer block party. I'm going to come back here and just pick a body style. And a good thing to point out, I guess, is when you have body copy versus a header style, when you have lots of text that you want people to read clearly, it's really important that you choose a font that makes your reader be able to read that information really quickly and easily. So something like this one here might not be the best for body copy. It's a little bit hard to read. So this might actually be better suited for your title of your poster. So for this instance, because I want everyone to read my information really clearly, I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use, what's it called? Podcover, semi-bold. So I'm going to copy that onto my page here. Where did it go? There we go. And now I'm going to go pick some elements. So it's summer. I think I'm going to pick this ice cream because everybody loves ice cream in summer, during the summertime. And I might pick a bit of a sun because it's summer in my heading. And I want some information to relate. All right, so what else is important? I've got to ask myself, and that will be the details. When is this event? I might actually use the same font I've used for the heading, drag that down. I'm going to write June 6, 2021 at 4 p.m. Cool. Might just make that a little bit smaller. I'm going to play with my elements now. So my ice cream, I'm going to increase the size of that. I'm actually thinking this poster might need a little bit more information. So I'm going to write a little sentence, welcome, or maybe I should say join us at our yearly summer block party where all our neighbors meet to eat ice cream. I would definitely be going to that. So now I've got a little bit more information that just helps, I guess, describe what the event is about and why we might all come together. So giving the reader a bit more context. So I'm going to put that underneath the heading. I'm going to do a center alignment on this one. And so it's starting to come together. I've got an ice cream. I understand what we're kind of promoting here. We've got a little bit of text that explains the actual event. And I think one thing I forgot is that its entrance is $10. So where can I add that? I might just say at 4 p.m. entry is $10. Going to increase that so it all goes down on the same line. Just going to make that a little bit smaller so I'm not shouting it. Put an ice cream. It's looking a little bit lonely, I think, at this stage. So I might just copy this little ice cream. I might change the colors. So some of the illustrations, you can search for things in our elements bar or tab. And you can search for anything. You can search for ice cream and more options will pop up if you don't like the one that's being suggested. Obviously for you, when you're designing your own ones, you can find any type of element that will suit your design and the message you're trying to tell people. And the other great feature in Canva that I absolutely love is that on some illustrations and elements, we can change the colors up here. So once you click on it, it'll pop up. And once you click on the color, I'm going to change the pink, might change it to yellow. And then you can go and change all the colors as you please. I love this feature. So here, I'm going to put pink. That might change it to a purple. This can be a raspberry ice cream. Might just twirl you around a little bit. Okay, we've got another one. It's looking good. You can also, I guess, right click and send your element behind my ice cream. So you can layer your different elements together. So I'm going to right click and say send backward. And now that's sitting behind the other ice cream. I'll make it a little bit smaller. And I think I might even add a third one just for maximum impact and consistency. Make you a little bit smaller. Let's change this one to, this can be pink raspberry one. There we go. Delicious. So now everything is feeling quite, I guess, consistent. We've got alignment. So we've got a center alignment. We've got the heading nice and big, so it's capturing our attention. We've got some additional copy that just gives a little bit of context, and that's a little bit smaller because it's, I guess, secondary to the main heading and the main event details. We've got some nice engaging graphics that also help describe what this is about. It's summary, and you're allowed to eat ice cream. And then to end off, we've got here the date that it is, the time, and how much it will be. So overall, I think I'm pretty happy with that.
Fantastic.
Cool.
We do have a few good questions here. Steph is asking, would you use different fonts for different types of text, e.g. headers and information?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So it's really up to you. It's actually a really good place to start, where you start with, for example, your header and nice big copy. And then you can always, to simplify your design, use the same font on your secondary copy. But at the same time, that's a really good starting point. You can just start there, and I'll actually do it I'll do it. We can do a little, what font is this? This is Rubik 1. So I can change this to Rubik 1. And if I click this uppercase, it will make it look exactly the same. And here we have, it still works really well. So we've got summer block party. Because this is larger, that's giving the emphasis and the hierarchy on that. And then underneath, I've got the information, but now it's in the same font. This really helps, I guess, simplify the design. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's actually a really good starting point. Sometimes when you have too many fonts, it can actually feel very overwhelming and cluttered your design. But I guess once you start to feel a bit more comfortable, or you just want to explore, it's also really nice to just use a secondary font, and one that might be more delicate or complement the selected font for your heading. I guess the important things to remember here is to make sure that you don't have more than probably 2 to 3 fonts. I'd like to stick to no more than 2 normally, and making sure that if you are using different fonts, that you're just using consistent sizes. So it's all about finding that balance with the limiting the amount of fonts you use and the different sizes. If you can remember to do those things, then your design will look definitely more cohesive in the end.
Lovely, thank you. Vanessa asks, how many colors should we use on our design's color palette to keep it clean but still interesting?
That's another really good question. And I guess there's not a magic or like a one shoe fits all answer, unfortunately. But a good another little exercise is to just keep the amount of colors you use quite limited. So, you could pick 3 colors and work with that. In this, for example, I've tried to focus on just using a nice base color, I guess 1 color for the text. And then I decided to have a little bit of more fun and exploration with colors through the illustrations. But there's nothing, I guess, wrong with just if I wanted to repeat the same ice cream. It's just about finding that right balance and starting with limited colors. And then if you add some over time, see if it gets too cluttered and if it gets too overwhelming. Sometimes it's nice to just walk away from your design, come back and check it, and then, see how you feel when you review your design.
That's a great tip, to just give it some space for a minute and come back, and then sometimes your eyes see something a bit new, don't they? But that ties into another question from Steph, which is, how do you know if it is too cluttered? Is there a kind of rule around that?
I think to just say you go and get a glass of water and you come back, and when you come back to your design and you look at it and you're not sure where your eye should focus, so it's trying to dart all over the page, I think that's when you know it's not working or something's feeling a bit too cluttered. If I had, for example, on this, that was really big and that was really big, everything is kind of competing. So I'm not really getting that time to digest all the information in the order that I should. So I think it's really important to ask yourself, what am I noticing first? What am I noticing second, third, and fourth? And then that way it should help you to kind of look at your design and go, okay, it's not feeling cluttered. I'm actually reading it in the order that I'd like to read it in.
Awesome. Just a couple more questions. Peter says, are there any hotkeys that you use?
So if you're looking for shortcuts, we actually have a great, if you can see, there's a little in your Canva screen, like a question help button, and you can write down shortcuts in the little keyboard shortcuts. And that actually pops up with all the different shortcuts that Canva has to offer. There are definitely some great little ones in here. I think just even like, Command C, Command V for copying and pasting. Once you get a little bit more comfortable in Canva, you can, italicize or bold things, even lock elements. So I think this little is a really good little handy guide to have. I'd say check that out.
So many shortcuts. That's definitely going to keep
so many. I wouldn't know where to begin with what my favorite ones are.
Okay, last question for this part of the session. We have a question from Zviko. How do you keep designs interesting if your brand colors are very corporate, like a blue and white? Do you maybe have like 2 top tips?
2 top tips. That's a great question. So look, that definitely happens a lot where you have to, I guess, you've got limited colors. Perhaps you can start exploring. It's also a very good starting point to start with something so limited and see how far you can push it. It's a really difficult skill to learn, but it's also a really invaluable one. I would suggest looking at perhaps, are you allowed to, can you do tints of the same? Just say you've got navy and red and white. Are you allowed to create any tints? So making your navy and using like 50% color tint of that, 25 or 75 to add a bit of, I guess, tones within your design. Perhaps looking at introducing different icons. So can you use icons to help tell what you're trying to say in an interesting way? To add a bit of, I guess, character to your designs. I think, focusing on if you can kind of push, can you use different shapes to add interest to your designs? I think there are a few of the little things that I'd be looking at to begin with. Hopefully that helps. All right. So next up, we're going to be discussing balance. So one is the weight distributed on the page by where you place your elements. Number two, balance gives your design structure. And thirdly, there are two ways where you can use balance, and that is symmetrically or asymmetrically. So in this design, we can see that everything feels quite balanced. And that's through the centered imagery and the type being reflected, like local beauty, or even also the date 2020. The logo is also centered within the frame, and it's evenly weighted with negative space all around it too, as you can see with the little pink circles helping you visualize that. On this example, the centered imagery and the type provides symmetrical balance. And then you've got these little line elements that are also evenly weighted and also help to lead your eye and balance the design. And thirdly here, when you want to create an asymmetric design, we often use a rule of thirds. And the rule of thirds is a guaranteed way to achieve something shown like here. It's just 3 columns where you, I guess, place all your elements and work to put all your different elements and information within. And that helps create a beautiful balance design, but it's asymmetrical. On this design, the rule of thirds is working in a vertical distribution. So the menu is sitting in the lower 2/3, and then you've got the heading above in the top third. So this leads us to our last exercise, which is on balance. All right, so this one is, I guess, focusing, these are the elements that I've been given. I've got a little bit of header, I've got some text, and I've got some images. And this time I've got a few different elements, and they are some interesting lines, got some nice colors. So this is all to do with fitness. So the thing I'd like to point out here is that we've got these blue lines, if you can see them. These are my guides, and this is going to help me create that balance. So just like we mentioned, the rule of thirds, this has been broken up into more columns. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns to work with in this design. It would be, you can play around with different columns to help find different layouts that suit your piece of communication. And it's just all about trial and error. So you can start with 3 columns in your design, and then you might go, actually, I might want to increase the amount of columns and play around with the elements in those spaces, which is what we've done here. I've created 6 columns. So what am I going to start with? I'm going to get my image. I'm going to paste that onto here. I'm going to make that a bit bigger. I'm going to place you there. I'm actually just going to make sure that fills up 2 columns. I'm going to center that there. All right. I might get the heading now. I'm going to open that up and put it all in one line. I'm going to left align this. Ooh, left align. I'll put it at the top. Might actually make the heading a little bit bigger for maximum impact. I'm going to have a bit of the text in this element here. All right. So serving of fitness. Now I'm going to tell people, let's get stronger together. I'm giving people a bit more information, and I'm saying, join our community. So using the lines that I've created here, I'm going to snap my little line here up. Oh. I'm going to make sure that this is all aligned. Let's get stronger together. Join our community. I'm actually going to copy out join our community. Oh, please. Copy that out. Now let's get strong together. Awesome. Join our community. I'm going to put that actually in one of these little boxes, I think. Might make this box white. And I'm going to make it the same size as the line above. Let's go to the right colors. I'm going to bring to bring you to the front. Another little great feature in Canva, if I select these two elements here, I've got some text and this box, but I want the text to sit within the box nice and centered. I can go up to position. I can click center. You can there's little, I guess, icons here to help you navigate what they're talking about. So if I wanted to click top, that would top align my elements that I've selected, or I can click middle, then I can click center. And that's helping me center that within that space. So that's awesome. Let's get stronger together every week. I'm going to add some more information at one of our fitness classes. Awesome. Join our community. I want people to click this. There we go. Now still it's looking okay, I think, but I think we can add some more interesting elements to make it a bit more eye-catching. Well, I'm going to use this nice white line texture. I'm going to try and fill this square up. Create a little bit of overlapping here, making it a little bit more interesting. I'm going to use the black one as well. And I might pop that over here. Increase the size. I'm going to put it behind. I'll just set that to the back. I think that's kind of, I guess, creating a little bit more interest. It's tying in, all the colors are tying in together. It's black and white image with a bit of black and white elements on the page, but I've still got the strong brown color of the red coming out and tying this all together. I'm actually pretty happy with that. And another great little feature, we're going to use what I just mentioned before. I'm going to make sure that these all are actually left aligned and my alignment is correct. I'm going to go back up to select the different elements I want to double check. I'm going to go to position, and they are all perfectly left aligned. If they weren't, you click left and it will beautifully organize that for you. So that's a nice little another feature within Canva. So I'm pretty happy with this for now. So yeah, we've got my heading here, which is nice and big. It's grabbing my attention and it's telling me a serving of fitness. It's describing the scenario. I've got a nice image that reflects my heading and the message I'm trying to get across. I've also got some nice elements that are helping balance this and create a little bit of interest. And then I've got some information and hopefully a bit of a call to action, which is saying join our community. If you want to get a sense or, you know, a serving of fitness, then join our community by clicking here. So yeah, we'll move on. If there are any questions, let me know.
Fantastic. There were a lot of people very excited about the guides and wondering how they set their own guides. So maybe you could just how you did those.
Of course. So I will, the great thing about in Canva, so if you create guides on one page, it applies these guides to all your pages. So it's very handy. And when you want to draw your guides, we've got, when you go to file and you show rulers. So when I click show rulers, this bar at the top here appears and this bar on the left-hand side appears. And when you simply hover over it, this little like double-ended, I guess, arrow pops up, and you can, when you start to draw from it and click down, a little blue line appears, and then you can place it, I guess, anywhere on your page. So in order for me to get these guides that I have here, I made sure that I understood the the dimensions that I was working with, and I divided it by however many, I guess, columns I wanted. So in this case, this is 820 pixels wide. So I divided that by 6. And then I drew my guides according to that dimension, the width. And then, yeah, once you draw them, they appear on every single page. And then it helps to really organize your design elements. If you want to turn off your guides, you can go to File and click Show Guides, and that will remove them. And then if I go back and I want to see them again, I can go File, Show Guides, and then they magically appear again. I think it's a really great way if you're starting to get a little bit comfortable in design and you want to, I guess, play around. It's a really good starting point. Create some guides, and it really helps you organize and keep your page elements, text, images, everything super aligned. It's a really great, useful tool. And I guess a few things to wrap up are, when you are designing anything on your piece of communication, try to apply some of the key design principles that we discussed today. So alignment, hierarchy, consistency, and balance. And remember that these can be used at any point to improve the effectiveness of your design. So to quickly recap what all of these things are again, alignment creates visual order and helps make your design feel organized. When it comes to hierarchy, that helps you guide your viewer through the different levels of important information within your design. So making sure what you want them to first notice and read, and then second, third, and fourth. Thirdly, consistency. So that really helps to strengthen a design by tying it all together, having consistent elements. And that can be through type, images, or different little patterns. And balance. Balance can be symmetrical or asymmetrical and refers to the weights distributed within your layout. So continue practicing this, play around with all these little different elements, and you'll find what works best for you. And I guess lastly, my parting words of wisdom would be to always ask yourself why a design is or isn't working, and what can you do to improve that design and the visual order that your viewer will kind of read and appreciate. Yeah, so I guess just always ask yourself, why is a design working or why is it not working? And take a moment to kind of just review it and ask yourself, are all those 4 key design principles that we've discussed today being applied? And if not, how can I improve it? And that's it. So thank you very much for listening to me today.
Fantastic.
I learned something.
People learned a lot. There's lots of thanks coming through in the chat. So thank you so much. We did have a quick request. Yep. Do you have any great design books that you would recommend? Maybe what's the best one that you would recommend to a beginner? Have you got any favorites?
I do have a few favorites. There is a great one on layout, and it's really like at the core what helps you make a great piece of design. It's called Grid Systems and Rasa Systems. And this book takes you through a multitude of different layouts and how grids are so important within your design. And they really help create a refined piece of work. And there are thousands of different ways you can create a layout by different grids. And yeah, I think this book has been something that's really resonated over the years with me, and it's something that I always go and pick up. Doesn't matter how many years you've been practicing design. It's, I guess, the real foundation to, a piece of design, and it's one of my favorite books.
Great. Thank you so much for the tip. Lots of thanks in the chat. Thanks so much for the tutorial and answering all the questions. So yeah, very, very big thank you to you, Nicole, for joining us today. And as I mentioned, this is part 1 of our design series. There will be another one coming in July. So check out the Canva Space website, canva.com/Canva-space. Those links will be up soon, so you can book into part 2. So I'm going to wrap it up there for today. We hope to see you at a future Canva Space workshop very soon. Have a wonderful evening or a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining from everywhere in the world.